What's up, guys? What I would do an interesting vlog video today, all on all things soaps. So obviously, a lot of people have been buzzing about Emmerdale this week. Obviously, the big talking point, obviously being that Robert Sutton made his long-awaited return to the show this week. Obviously, and it is a permanent return, not a guest stint, as was previously reported. I mean, obviously, the fact that they brought Robert back on a permanent basis is huge, and it's a very, it is a welcome return. I think a lot of fans are happy to see him back. I don't think anyone is, you know. I mean, when you think about the last year or so, we've had three big characters return. Obviously, we've had Ross Barton return, Joe Tate return, and now Robert Sutton has come back. So you're sort of thinking, it's like who's the next, who's the next character that's going to return. I mean, it's huge that obviously these three big characters have obviously been brought back to the show. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's huge. I mean, there's one character I feel that it would be great to see return. I mean, even if it's not on a full time basis, or even if it was only on a part time, like on a like maybe 4 weeks worth of episodes, or maybe just for like 1 or 2 episodes, bring back Andy Sud. I feel like Andy needs to return. He's one character that you would that I think needs to return. I would love to see Debbie come back, but I don't think she would come back unless that role was recasted. And I honestly don't think that Emma Dow necessarily want to kind of recast the role of Debbie, obviously. So I guess she's one character that we're not going to see come back, which I mean, it's a shame, but I'm also fine with it. I'd rather. I mean, I'd rather if they were bringing Debbie back. I'd rather it be Charlie Webb that came back and played her rather than anyone else, because I don't think anyone would be able to play Debbie the same way that she could. If I'm being honest with you. Um, in terms of Corey, obviously a lot of big, obviously exits, but a big return this week. We did see the return. And obviously, I think in tonight's episode, we're going to be seeing a return of Jason Grimshaw, played by Ryan Thomas, who we've not seen obviously for nearly 10 years. He left the show in 2016. I mean, again, obviously a welcome return. Obviously, it's great to see Jason back. To be honest, even if a character returns only for a few episodes, I don't have a problem with that. Especially if it's a character that we've not seen for a long time. It's still nice to see that character, even if they've not been, even if it is only for a few episodes. I mean, which is like Jason Grimshaw. Even though he's only back for a few episodes, it's still nice to see him because he's not been in the show for nearly 10 years. So it's nice to see him, to see his character again, obviously after so long. Well, I think at Coronation Street there is one return that I think will, always top my list, and I think it will always top everybody's list. Becky McDonald. Obviously, it's been 13 years since since Catherine Haley left her role as Becky McDonald in Coronation Street. Obviously, she left the role back in 2012. I think there have been times in the past where it felt like Becky should have returned, but obviously she didn't. Obviously, Haley's funeral was one of them. Haley's funeral, it kind of felt like Becky should have returned for that. I think if I remember correctly, I think I've heard this. They did actually try to get Catherine Kelly back, to Coronation Street for that, for Haley's funeral, but I think Catherine Kelly was filming something else at the time, or was doing something else at the time, which meant that she wasn't able to film anything for Coronation Street, sadly. There's another name I've seen a lot of people talking about, Him Marsh. Now, I feel like there's been a lot of speculation. Her return to Coronation Street is something that's been speculated on quite a lot since it was announced, obviously, that she was leaving her role as Nikki Walters in Waterloo Road. I think, as soon as that was announced, everyone was like, she's going back to Corrie. Now, I think at the moment, I think there's not really any immediate plans for him Marsh to come back to Coronation Street. I think she has said that she would like to return, but it's not a return that's going to happen, anytime soon. It's not in those immediate plans, but it is something that she would like to do in the future. So, you know, we know that it will happen. When that return will happen, when that return will happen, I don't know. And will that return happen? I just, who knows? It'll be next year. It'll be in a few years. I mean, at least she hasn't. I think the one good thing is that him Marsh hasn't completely shut the door on a return as Michelle Connor. She had kind of said that she would like to do that at some point. I feel like it would be great to see Sophie and Rosie come back as well. Like, especially with some of the storylines that are going on at the moment. Obviously, having their father with their their stick cancer. That their aunt Debbie has got dementia. So I feel like there's kind of good reasons for them to bring back Sophie and Rosie to the show. I would love to see them come back. I think a lot of people would. I think a lot of people would love to see, Sophie and Rosie come back. I don't think anyone would really have an issue with those two characters being brought back to the show. I mean, I personally wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If I'm being very honest. Um, One return I would love to see is the return of Lloyd Mullaney. Now, I've said this for years. I'd like to see Lloyd come back, and I don't. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I don't think Ray Charles has ever shut down the idea of returning to Oriole, said that's not a possibility. I mean, obviously the door was left open for him to make that return, obviously, and I think that it would be cool. I mean, even if it was only for like a few episodes, it would still be nice to see him. I'm not saying that they should bring back someone like like Lloyd Manani back full time, but it's the same with Betty McDonald. I'm not saying that they should bring back Betty full time. I mean, again, even if Betty only returned for a few episodes, it would still be nice to see. Because again, we've not seen Betty for almost 13 years. Well, yeah, for 13 years now. Um, and again, I don't think Catherine Kelly has ever actually shut the door on a return. I don't think she's ever said that she won't return. So it could still happen. I guess it would depend on her availability as well. Like, I guess maybe she was available to do, a few episodes in Holly. Why not bring her back? You know, she's one of the many characters I would love to see come back. In terms of EastEnders, we know that there's two big returns happening this year, Max Brannan and Ben Mitchell. Ben Mitchell is being brought back on a guest stint, but if all goes well, that could be that return into a permanent return. Um, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think it's. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily that Matt Spoden is being given a second chance. I think that's a good thing. Obviously, that he's being given this second chance. Hopefully, things all go well, and maybe that will lead to a Ben Mitchell return full time. I know some people probably wouldn't want to see Ben return full time, but I personally wouldn't have a problem with that. Bring back, they bring back Ben. Let them bring back Ben. What's the problem with that? Let them bring back Ben. Because Ben would be a huge, it would be a decent character to have back in the show all the time. You know, as much as I mean, obviously I'd love to see Shirley return. Everyone would. I've been saying it for a few months now. I'd love to see Shirley Hart versus Hannah Mitchell. I think that would be huge. I honestly think about Shirley. I mean, obviously, you know, I feel like it's a return that could still happen. I'm not saying I don't think it will happen. I certainly don't think it will happen anytime soon, but I think it will happen at some point. I think it has to happen. I said before, I think that was probably one of the big reasons why they brought back Dean, but they brought Dean back to the show. But I think maybe they thought that if they brought Dean back, it would tempt, it would tempt obviously Linda Henry to come back to Shirley Carter, but obviously it didn't quite go that way. It obviously didn't really tempt her to come back. Obviously, it didn't really, lead to anything as they probably thought it would. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, the one thing you got to think about really is that Linda Henry, who plays Shirley, has never actually come out and specifically said that she's not returning to the show. She's never come out and said that that's not going to happen. Um, you know, I'd love to. I think we all would. I think we all would love to see Shirley back. I feel like the more time that goes by, I think the more people are becoming concerned that she isn't going to be coming back to the series. And I mean, I'm kind of in two minds about whether it will happen or not. I hope it does, but who knows? Who really knows if she's going to come back? So obviously a lot of people have been talking. I've been thinking about EastEnders, and I've been thinking like what the I've been wondering, like, I've been thinking like I wonder what the big Christmas storyline is going to be this year, because obviously it's like, and who is going to be the main focus of this year's Christmas storyline. I don't think it will be the Bills or the Knights, because they were kind of the big focus point of the Christmas storyline last year. Um, I can't see it being the Slaters. I can't really see it being like the Panesars or anyone like that. I mean, maybe it would be cool to see the new Mitchells be the focus point of the Christmas storyline this year. Maybe it's going to be them. Maybe it's going to be Nigel, because we know that Nigel's going to be coming. They're going to be leaving the show this year at some point. I don't know if it's going to be over the summer. I don't know if it's going to be later on in the year towards Christmas. I don't know. I've been saying I think that he might die at Christmas. I hope it's not going to go that way, because I would like to see a bit more of a happier Christmas storyline in EastEnders, which I don't think we've seen for a while. Um, I mean, there's bound to be some sort of big reveal or big moment that happens over the Christmas episode. Because what would the Christmas episodes be without some kind of huge secret being exposed? Last year we had we had Cindy's affair with Junior being exposed. And what was it? I mean, obviously the year before it was the sixth storyline. Obviously like Keanu. Obviously it came out about obviously Keanu not being obviously Albie's father. So yeah, I mean, you can expect something big, definitely something big to happen this year. I don't know what the main storyline is going to be, or who's going to be the main focus of the storyline this year. But who knows? We'll see. I guess we'll see. I mean, obviously we are still several months away from that point, so you know we won't know. I don't think we will really know what the Christmas storyline is going to be until probably around about maybe October, November time. We'll probably get an idea of what the Christmas storyline is going to be. But for now, I mean, let's focus on some of the summer storylines. It looks like Oscar Brannon is coming back after 8 years. 8 years after his last appearance, he'll be reappearing again. Maybe Oscar's gonna come back first, and then Max returns after that. That's what I think is gonna happen. I mean, when I think of EastEnders characters I'd love to return, I mean, Shirley's obviously at the top of my list, Fat Boy, but I'd love to see Fat Boy come back. Mick Hart, I might see Mick come back. Um, I know this is probably very highly unlikely, but Zainab and Masood, I'd love to see them come back. But then again, it's like, why would you bring them back? Because there's not really anyone in the squad that they know. I mean, I'd love to see a Zainab Masood versus Suki Parasol. Now, that would be interesting if they did that. See notes to go head to head, or as Shirley's all her Satnav. Oh, it was funny the way she used Shirley used all Zainab Satnav. I mean, I'll be interested. Obviously, this year's gonna be. And well, I think that's been what my favourite story, my favourite soap has been. My favourite soap has been this year. I would say EastEnders with Emmerdale close second. I mean, Coronation Street for me this year feels like it's been very doom and gloom since the start of the year. It feels like there's been a lot of kind of depressing storylines, and it just feels like it's not been that good. Like it's not been that kind of enjoyable to watch. It's just been very doom and gloom. Like it's like it's just been like more and more doom and gloom as the months have gone on. Yeah, I found the episodes to be very depressing, I would say. Um, I mean, at least for me, the episodes, the EastEnders and Emmerdale episodes haven't left me feeling completely depressed. But on, the Coronation Street on the episodes, on the other hand, I mean, I don't mind a bit of, a bit of doom and gloom occasionally, but with Coronation Street so far, it feels like it's been nothing but doom and gloom since the start of the year. I mean, obviously we know that there's obviously been a lot of, a lot of character exit, obviously a bit harsh, harsh members leaving, and but, I don't know what to say. I mean, one thing that's intriguing me is Emmerdale. What is going on with Karen Bullitt, who plays Lydia? I'm guessing she's on a break. The reason she's not been in the show for a while is she's been taking a break. I did think at one point that maybe she'd been secretly axed, but now I'm kind of changing my mind on that a little bit. Um, maybe I don't even know when she's going to be back on screen. They've not really said anything about when Lydia is going to be back on screens or anything like that. Um, which is a little bit, it's like Coronation Street with Dev. We know that Jimmy Hartsheen, who plays him, is on a break. And again, they've not really given any kind of ideas as to when we can expect to see Dev back on screens again. And I don't know if it'll be to maybe we see Jimmy Hartsheen back as Dev towards the end of the year. You know, I mean, obviously it's going to be interesting because we know that obviously Artie is leaving the show. Obviously, that was announced not long ago that he was leaving. Um, but we'll see what happens anyway. I mean, I haven't particularly missed Dev. I've just been wondering when he'll be back on the show. Like, when we're gonna see Dev, and it's like Emmerdale. Like, I've been wondering when Lydia is gonna be back on the screens. Um, but yeah, I remember that. Great to see Robert Sodom back full time. A huge return. I mean, when I thought of returns that had happened this year, Robert Sodom wasn't one that had crossed my mind. I didn't, I thought I had a funny feeling that it would happen, but I wasn't 100% confident that he would actually return to Emmerdale this year. That certainly wasn't something I thought about, at the end, I was thinking, at the start of the year, I didn't think, oh, this year's going to be the year that Robert Sutton returns. Nor did I think he was going to come back on a permanent basis. As I said, it had previously been reported it was just a death stint, but that was obviously incorrect information. Um, because we now know that he's back full time, which makes his return even better. Is knowing that it is a full time return and not just a guest stint. Like he's not just going to be back for a few episodes. He's now back full time. Hell yes, this is what we've wanted for a while. Welcome back, Robert Sutton. Welcome back, Ryan Hawley. Are we going to see Rob Ron again? Maybe. I can't wait to see what happens. I'll see you for another video soon. Bye bye.